Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. So this video is going to be about me pitching some ideas to keep Impact Wrestling alive. So what's wrong with Impact Wrestling? Well, Raj Giri and a lot of other wrestling journalists, they were petitioning Showbiz Daily, the site that reports TV ratings. They wanted to know what Impact's ratings were. And Showbiz Daily essentially said that we don't really follow that product because it's at 0 level and we give the top 150 and sometimes it doesn't even make the top 150. So they don't follow it. So of course, after the wrestling fans badgered them, they put out some information that said that Impact Wrestling's most recent rating was a 0.04. So Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics he had his own little estimation of a 0.03 and 98,000 viewers. That means that of people who have televisions, less than 100,000, or he believes less than 100,000 people watch Impact Wrestling on television. Now, that's critically low. That is a lethal number of demographics and viewership. You cannot ignore that. I'm not a ratings guy, but you can't ignore that. You can't advertise with that. Right? So you have to ask the question, how is this show going to continue to exist? Now you could say, well, Anthem owns Access, which is the network, and they own Impact. And they just bundled those two things together. I say, well, even a multi-billion-dollar corporation cannot continue to fund things that are losing money. I've been saying that so many times on this channel. It doesn't matter. NBC got rid of more popular channels than Anthem has when it comes to Access. Okay. Yes, we know that Impact is the cornerstone of Access TV, is pretty much all that it has. Doesn't matter. As television slowly but surely dies out, you don't want Impact stuck on the vine as being the last thing on television. Right? Because even then people aren't going to watch it. And then I see all these crazy stories about Impact willing to sign Buddy Murphy and Braun Strowman and Bray Wyatt. And I was like, how the hell are they going to afford that? How can they afford to sign Bray Wyatt? He was on the top for 10 years. Like, he was in WWE for 10 years. The guy probably made more than enough money. He probably would be doing it for the creative freedom, maybe. But a guy like him and Braun Strowman, how in the world could you possibly afford that? How could you afford that? Even when it comes to Christian and Kenny Omega, you got AEW footing the bill for those guys. How can they afford to sign these talents on their own? I don't know. I have no idea how they would come to be able to afford those talents. And then put them on this show that can barely scratch the surface of what it can do. And that's the thing that really kind of flipped the lid in my head, you know? Because it's not like Impact is in an industry that is already dead. If you think wrestling is dead or dying, you're too far in the bubble, you're too far in the Vince Russo camp. Wrestling is fine, right? When you see AEW and WWE breaking records, making more money than ever, AEW is less than 3 years old. You have to ask yourself, especially if you're Impact and you've been around since 2002, and I know that the brand took a lot of hits over the years and a lot of negativity over the years. But there's money to be made in the industry that you are in. Okay? You are in an industry where people are thriving. You have to ask yourself, what on earth are we doing wrong? And I don't know how many people are still there from the original days of Impact. I'm pretty sure Scott D'Amore has some institutional knowledge of what was going on. But you have to ask yourself, you know, what are we doing wrong? How can we change things? So I got some ideas. First things first, I think that they need to get off cable. Billy Corgan said something that was really intelligent when he was doing the NWA, and people were asking him about NWA TV. He said, cable is essentially dead. We're not even going to go that route. We're going through internet. And then he, of course, had the first couple of seasons of NWA through YouTube. And he was doing fine there. And then they upgraded to Fight TV, right? And now they seem to be doing in a better financial situation. I don't know how much better. Again, it's a private company. We don't have any ideas. So it's, we don't know how good it's doing, but we know that it's pretty solid. MLW was primarily through YouTube until recently. Court Bauer went on Twitter and, fans were asking him, hey, all of the entire library that you guys had on YouTube has gone. Where did it go? And Court Bauer said, well, we're transitioning away from YouTube because we're signing a deal somewhere else. And I kind of pitched that they probably will be going all in on Vice. And I don't know who owns Vice. I have no idea. But I'm pretty sure that since they had signed this TV deal with Vice, that might be where they're going. It's probably streaming through some Vice app or something like that. Or whoever owns Vice. Or somebody else is going to, pay to have their show streamed. Because they've collected their entire library off YouTube. Ring of Honor also does not have a TV show that shows on television. Their show was syndicated for a long time. The show is not syndicated anymore. Now it streams solely through online. So there's a lot of options you have there. You have the NWA model of partnering up with another streaming service, and there are many that are looking for cheap programming like pro wrestling that you could probably put on there, and they can get money from it. There's like, the Tubies and, there's Hulus and Rokus and Amazon and all that kind of stuff. And some of these people are going to be in the WWE sweepstakes when their time on Fox or NBC or whatever is up, looking to throw a bunch of money at Vince McMahon. Try to cut them off by doing something else, right? Try to cut them off by being the official pro wrestling partner of Amazon or something like that, and see if you can get a big check out of it to invest in this show. And then maybe you can sign, higher quality wrestlers. I'm not saying that the quality of the wrestlers are low quality. I'm just saying bigger names and more consistent, and traveling and different things like that. The second option is to just stream through your website, to basically just shut down the television show and say, hey, we're just going to do TV. We're just going to do an online option. This is good too. But unlike Ring of Honor, which is not really episodic in that there aren't really a lot of storylines to follow when it comes to Ring of Honor. There's some, don't get me wrong, but a lot of the Ring of Honor is matches, and sometimes it's just matches for the sake of matches. Impact actually tries to tell stories, so it's a little bit more difficult to do the NWA model, which is to get people to subscribe to some type of fight type of website. Now I know that they did do this deal with YouTube, which I think they gave people access to the library, and there's all kind of stuff going on with YouTube. And this was necessary because not everybody gets access. I'm not sure if I said this before, but Anthem isn't in every household. Like I can get access. That's where I watch Impact, but not everybody does. So some people might be saying, well, I can't watch Impact if I wanted to. I would have to pirate it. And that's what quite a few people do. Quite a few people just pirate Impact. But then in the end, there's not a lot of energy around any of the shows either. Sure, it has somewhat of a dedicated fan base, but there's not a lot of energy around anything that happens on Impact. And this big spoon, little spoon relationship they have with AEW doesn't help, And I know that they probably thought that was going to be a great idea, but it's been 6 or 7 months, and the ratings are still critically low. I know they probably did okay in terms of buys for the Impact Plus shows, because that was kind of the point anyway. And it seems that both AEW and Impact are shooting for that. Okay, well, if TV is sinking, well, it's okay. We'll just boost it up by doing big events once a month or once every couple of months. And that can work. That's an option. But Anthem is in television. AEW is a content provider, and it's a different situation than what Impact is in. As far as I know, Warner does not own AEW. At least not yet. And I wouldn't be surprised that within the next couple of years, that somebody doesn't decide to just buy a piece of AEW from Tony Khan. I know he's a billionaire. He doesn't need the money, but that's not the point. You know, they may threaten to just say, you know, we're not going to air your show anymore, you know, and try to muscle their way in. But these kind of things are, and yes, Vince has that problem too, that somebody's going to eventually say, we're not going to give you $5 billion for this thing anymore. We might want to have some type of ownership stake. And that's kind of what the nature of wrestling seems to be going. Now, because they don't have, well, WWE is a little different, but a lot of these smaller promotions, a lot of these smaller places, I'm really looking at these guys getting bought out, you know, and specifically Corgan, Court Bauer, and Impact. I can definitely see one of those three just getting bought out completely and just, you know, the other guy being pushed to the side, you know, because it's a vanity project for Corgan, rather. You know, he started the NWA. He's really a rock star, you know, but he's near the tail end of that career. So now he's like, I want to get in the wrestling business. Okay, cool. Now somebody's going to come with some cash and be like, okay, we'll just buy all this from you and you go do something else. You know, because as TV consolidates, as streaming services consolidate, people are going to start getting bought out. It's absolutely, it's inevitable, you know. Not everybody's going to be able to stand in the same place forever. So just about everybody who's successful right now, and that includes GCW too, and some of the other smaller independent promotions that might have dedicated fan bases, so like OVW and stuff like that. I think I've said this before. There's going to be people who are going to be looking for, I don't want to pay Vince all this money. I'll just start my own wrestling company. Or I'll just pay for another wrestling company. Hey, you who owns such and such wrestling, why don't you sell me your company? And then we'll run it out of a warehouse somewhere in Nevada. And that's it. We'll just have cheap wrestling programming. And if we need to pay money to get a guy, let's just throw a name out there, Randy Orton, we'll do it. But we're not going to spend a lot of money on this thing. It's just going to be cheap programming because we know that wrestling fans are dedicated. They will watch just about anything. So let's give it a shot. And eventually there's going to be enough of these apps that are going to have their own wrestling companies or going to be streaming their own wrestling companies that it will affect WWE's business. Because then they're not going to have that many vendors for their product. Because that's really how they make a lot of money. They pit these vendors against each other. That's why they're not going to sell to NBC. You know, why sell to NBC and be stuck there for better or worse when you can just say, okay, we're not really feeling NBC right now. We could jump to Apple. We could jump to Amazon. We could jump to Disney and then jump back and forth. When you sell out to a big corporation, that corporation essentially owns it, and then there's no way to go from there. And that's why I think in this situation, if Anthem gets desperate, they will sell Impact. I do believe it. To who? Who else would want it except the guy who wants the fucking library? And so if you know, the entire history of like Samoa Joe and AJ Styles, and you still got some Booker T in there and Kurt Angle in there, who else would want Impact's library? You know? And and you don't want that. So what you want to do is get the fuck off TV and find some way for people to invest in this product and to get some eyeballs on it. That's what you want. You want eyeballs on your product. You got to get it where people can see it. And stop, you know, putting it in a position where people can pirate the product. You know? Put it visible where somebody can find it. If it needs to go online only, then that's maybe what you need to do. But it needs to change. Because there is money in wrestling right now. And Impact ain't getting none of it. And Ring of Honor is getting very little of it. And there's no excuse for it. And I know there's a lot of energy around AEW right now. Who knows how long that will last? I say about 2 or 3 years maximum. You know, some people will say less than a year. It depends on how many of these people they sign. You know? And I've also had that conspiracy theory that, you know, that TNT and TBS is actually helping them pay for some of these guys. But Daddy Khan has so much money. That's not the point. That's not the point. It's never the point. Whenever these big ticket wrestlers come in, I'm just going to take an aside here. Whenever these big ticket wrestlers come in, Dixie Carter didn't need money. But she was given a budget, and she was kind of like, damn, I probably can't be able to afford this thing. Spike, could you pitch in something here? No doubt in my mind that Tony Khan probably has some type of relationship where TNT is either paying for the production costs of AEW, or he's paying, or they're gonna slide him some cash for some of the signings. And they're making so many big ticket signings that there's just no way for me to believe that they're just paying for this out of pocket. Every company has a budget. Okay? Every company has a set amount of money that it can spend in their coffers at any given time. Okay? Impact probably does not have the money to make the roster decisions that they might want to make. Because you look at the money coming in, it's got to be minimal. Look at the fucking TV ratings. Who is advertising on this show? What ratings like that? What advertiser can you possibly get? So you have to change your entire structure. You have to say, we're out of TV. Best way for us to increase our advertising is to go where the people are. Find some type of streaming service, package your stuff up, and ship it to them. You know, whoever it might be. I know Triller has been spending a lot of cash. I'm not sure how that would work out. But go somewhere where that has a lot of viewers, but not a lot of, but you know, if you can get on something like Disney, that would be great. Because Disney has like, what, 200 million subscribers on Disney Plus. You know, if you can get just half of a percentage of people who have Disney to watch Impact. That's more people that's watching Impact right now. If you can get, I know CBS is in trouble too. I remember seeing that CBS is about to start selling some assets, so they're in trouble. And that's the reason why I made this video. I can't believe I made it like 17 minutes into this video before that popped into my head. But yeah, there are TV networks that are in trouble. Whole multi-billion-dollar conglomerates that are in trouble. And they're selling their assets. NBC is, not NBC, but CBS is in trouble. You got to do something, right? You got to make a change. Impact cannot survive this way. And I know a lot of people are going to be huffing and puffing and talking about WWE is so awful if they sweep in and buy the goddamn tape library and, you know, the company goes out of business or some shit like that. And most people wouldn't even know that it was up for sale. But you can't tell me that no matter how much Anthem loves Impact and they, you know, bought the network to do all this stuff, it can't last forever. It can't. Not at this rate, you know. And the AEW partnership is not working. It's not working for their TV. It might be doing okay for their Impact Plus ratings or whatever, the buys and stuff for that, maybe. But then you got AEW fucking them over too. They didn't even let you do the Christian Cage, Kenny Omega title switch on your site. They made them do it on AEW's TV. Because it's two AEW guys wrestling for an Impact title. So they're not even giving you the full Monty. You're the little spoon. That cannot last. Eventually people are going to look and say, you know, what is this partnership getting us? It's like, okay, it's getting our actual title on TV. But does that translate to more people watching our show? And I think that we've seen from 6 months of evidence that the answer is no. The answer is no. Kenny Omega and Christian are not increasing ratings for Impact. Now, Christian has not wrestled on Impact yet. He wrestled at the pay-per-view joint. So he has not wrestled on television. But it's still not working. It's still not helping. You know, people are not tuning in just to see him. People can watch the clips. And you have to make your show must-see. Or at least make it where people can see it. Even if it's not must-see, but it is in people's faces and therefore they can find it. And a lot of people can't find Impact. And that's a problem. They need to change that. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel, donate to the channel. Thank you guys for your time, and I'll talk to you guys later.